Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Victoria Police Centre. Here this morning to discuss our crime stats for the period up until June 2025, the 12-month preceding that compared to the previous 12 months. So again, our crime rates are at an unacceptable level. We recorded 638,640 criminal offences here in Victoria for that reporting period, an increase of 86,000 plus offences, which is a 15.7% increase. When population growth is considered, the crime rate rose by 13.8% for that 12-month period. As is the case in previous crime stats that we've presented since COVID, the fastest growing offences include the theft from motor car, the theft of motor car, family violence interventions, theft from a retail store, and theft other. So what's driving the increase in crime here in the state of Victoria? Certainly the cost of living is at play here. Drugs, technology, organised crime, but in particular recidivism, remain significant drivers for our crime rates. Our intelligence shows repeat offences are responsible for a significant proportion of all crime here in Victoria. So what are we doing as an organisation? During this reporting period, Victoria Police arrested 77,500 offenders. This included 3,300 youth offenders, some of the more violent youth offenders that we have here in Victoria. While Victoria Police is doing an exceptional job to resolve these crimes, the number of arrests reflects an unacceptable level of offending. We will continue to make arrests and hold offenders to account, but we need to prevent and deter crime offending so that there is fewer victims in this state. We are currently working on a new approach to deter repeat offenders and help stop crimes before they occur in the first place. This includes a focus on how we can get more police on our streets. We'll continue to work with government, we'll continue to work with our partners to develop strategies and treatments, solutions to prevent and respond to crime. We also encourage the community to take and play their part in terms of taking simple measures, locking up your houses, locking up your homes, locking up your vehicles, securing your property so you are not a potential victim of crime. Since Chief Commissioner Mike Bush was appointed to the organisation, he has set an ambitious target to reduce crime by 5% each year. There is no doubt this will be a challenge, but we are confident that in the foreseeable future, the crime will reduce and our community remains and feels safe as possible. The Chief Commissioner in mid-October will share with our organisation primarily, but with the broader community, new approaches that we'll adopt in terms of preventing crime. The first step for the Chief Commissioner was to set targets, one of them being reducing crime by 5% each year, also increasing public trust and confidence in our organisation to 80%, and developing leadership at all levels. The Chief Commissioner has reviewed some work that we've done in terms of our organisational structures. He has had his input, he has sought advice, he has sought, and through consultation, and in turn developed a structure that he will share with the organisation. But I'm assured and I understand those structural arrangements will be the first step where we see prevention at the forefront of our policing activities. That structure, as I said, will be shared with our organisation in mid-October. At this point, I'm happy to take questions from the floor.
That target, is that a new thing? Has the police implemented targets like that in the past?
We have had targets in the past, but not a definitive target. And the Chief Commissioner has made it very clear that we need a definitive target, and 5% it is. We are being challenged to reduce our serious and violent crime by 5% each year. That's already commenced.
Is the government on board with that target?
The government has been briefed. The government has supported the Chief Commissioner and has supported that strategy, if you like, and our corporate plans with those targets and others.
Are you confident the new bail measures and measures from Victoria Police with machetes, machete bins, do you think they will help reduce crime across the state?
In terms of, firstly, the bail legislation, we've seen the first tranche that's been introduced. The second tranche is imminent, if not before the new year. Already, with what I know from our own systems and processes, we have more remand prisoners within the police jail cells than we have in recent times. Early in the year, before the bail legislation was introduced, on average we had 60 prisoners in the cells across Victoria. Those prisoners were predominantly sentenced prisoners attending court. As late as the Monday of this week, those numbers have increased to 260, 240 odd adult prisoners on remand. Of course, Victoria Police don't house child offenders. That's a responsibility for youth justice. But those, I suppose, young offenders, those numbers have also increased. The numbers that are on remand in youth justice have seen similar increases as Victoria Police with our adult prisoners.
That increase in the number of people in police cells on remand, is that having any impact on the ability of police to, I guess, be outside the station doing their job?
Yeah, certainly we have a number of priorities, and one is, amongst other things, managing that prisoner cohort. Primarily, they're managed by police custody officers, not police people. We use police people, but primarily it's police custody officers that manage those prisoners.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this new approach to deter repeat offenders? Is that like, programs in the community, or is it more policing? What would that look like?
All of the above. The Chief Commissioner is in dialogue with government. The Chief Commissioner has the year of government. We're looking at a system approach. We need to work more closely with our partner agencies, which we're doing already, in terms of how we can support vulnerable people in our community so they don't turn to crime. From a policing perspective, the first approach to preventing crime is to deter crime by having a visible police presence. We are committed to increasing our police numbers. We are committed to freeing up our police members from the back of house functions and roles and putting them on their street where they will make an impact, a positive impact in our community and keeping our community safe.
Police Minister Anthony Carbine said this morning that the increased arrests and remands showed that police are getting the support they need to keep crime under control. But is that true if you're arresting the same 1,100 criminal kids more than or nearly 7,000 times?
Certainly, we want to see less arrests. If people are offending, we will hold them to account. But the more arrests we're making, that in turn says that we've got 77,000 victims potentially of crime. So we need to think about how we're going to deter and prevent crime in the first place. Now, whether that be through legislative frameworks, whether that be through a partnership approach with different agencies, whether that be through Victoria Police having more members on the road, having our members equipped with the technology so they can be more effective in their policing functions. It's a, as I say, a system approach that needs to be adopted.
Have you noticed a change then in the trend of getting bail, like the rate of getting bail versus released? If from this 60 in the cells to 240 in the cells, are you suggesting that it seems that magistrates are already taking up this stricter bail laws advice before the tranches come into place?
Well, tranche one is already in place. It had that overarching, focus of community safety needs to be considered. As a consequence of tranche one, the prisoner numbers have increased. Now, it's too early to say whether that's playing out in our crime data. Remember, tranche one only came in, I think, at the start or midway through this reporting period. It was, April or thereabouts, I think. So I'm not going to stand here and say that it's already having an impact. All I can say is the impact that it is having is that we're seeing more people on remand. how that's washing through our crime data. I think it'll take a bit more time to sort of identify the impact it's really having on our crime numbers.
On family violence, they've got record high incidences, but at the same time, charges have dropped, RBOs have dropped, and unsolved cases has increased. Can you speak to that?
I certainly can speak to it. I know for a fact from the crime data there's been increases in incidents, but there's been increases in the number of intervention order breaches that Victoria Police has been engaged with. So that indicates to me that we still have significant issues within the home and within the family environment, where we're still seeing people placed on intervention orders that are breaching those intervention orders. And Victoria Police will always be front-footing those all the time. Family violence is one of those issues that we've been challenged by as a society for many, many years. But Victoria Police is seen as the front runner in any jurisdiction around Australia about how we proactively protect people in their homes.
But what about the unsolved cases and the increase, or the drop in charges? What's happening there?
Well, I haven't got that particular detail in front of me. I will, speak to you and provide that data afterwards, but that hasn't been brought to my attention. I haven't seen that in the crime data at this stage.
How troubling is the youth offending that we are seeing and the repeat youth offenders and how violent some of these children are becoming?
There's certainly a reducing number of 10 to 17-year-olds that are committing these violent, serious offences in our community, and that's been playing out this week, where we've intervened and arrested a number of 10 to 17-year-olds that are involved in that sort of offending. I can say the number's reducing, but that particular cohort certainly is a challenge for us and how we actually deal with that. But those particular individuals, once we see the bail tranches come into play, those people won't get bail. Those people will be remanded in custody. Those people will be held and provided with therapeutic treatments whilst they're in custody in YJ, but that's the circuit breaker we need. Those particular individuals, or those numbers, as I say, we've reduced. There's 147 less young offenders being detected offending for 10 to 17-year-olds over this reporting period, but we've got this cohort that continue to offend. 1,100 of these 10 to 17-year-olds, or thereabouts, charged on 7,000 plus times. We have, in terms of our repeat offenders, 5,400 people have been charged 10 times or more in the reporting period, responsible for 40% of our crime. So we're talking about a minority in our community that are causing us all this heartache and putting the rest of us at risk.
What's driving that group? Like you said, it's a very small proportion of Victorians. What is it that's leading to it?
Their prolific offending, their chronic offending is entrenched behaviour. And when you talk about the different age groups, it's not the 10 to 17-year-olds. They only make up 12% of our crime data. It's the youth offenders, it's the adult offenders, people that know no better way than live their lives but to commit crime. And we'll continue to intervene and arrest these people and bring them before the courts.
What's the mood then among members with these various tranches coming in? Obviously, they'll be well aware that crime is up, but are they satisfied now that they're charging people hopefully less and you're not having repeat offenders continually cycling in and out of the court?
Our members welcomed the announcements by the government as it relates to bail legislation. We're pleased to see other legislative interventions come into play, whether it relate to edge weapon crime, knife crime, whether it relate to the protest activity, whether it relate to other legislative frameworks that Victoria Police has been advocating for many years and will continue to advocate in terms of what does that legislative framework look like? Is it holding people to account? Is there consequence for criminal behaviour? That in itself will see some of, I suppose, that deterrence play out when offenders, young offenders, see their colleague charged with possessing a prohibited weapon being a machete fined thousands of dollars and jailed for in excess of 2 years. Now that'll take time to play out through the system, but that's the deterrence that's required. That's the consequence that needs to be applied to, those that commit criminal offences and, the repercussions as a consequence.
When you say that the 5,400 people charged with 40% of crime, is that all crime or is that just the increase?
That's all crime.
All crime, and that's all people, whatever ages?
That's right.
That is shocking.
It is. And that's the intelligence holdings that we have. There's other cohorts. The data, some of the data is in the media release. We talk about recidivist offending, 2 or 3 offences each year. We talk about prolific offending, 5 times or more. 5,400 people charged with offences relating to 10 incidents or more during the relevant 12-month period.
We saw yesterday morning there was a police chase across Bayside, 4 Agbergs, 2 cars stolen. The police officer, when he was greeting the offender, said, "G'day, mate," like he's seen him before. How frustrating is it for police who are putting their lives on the line to arrest the same people over and over again?
It is incredibly frustrating for our members. Our members are doing an exceptional job, whether it be working on the front line in the middle of the night with Operation Trinity, or working on our youth gangs with Alliance, whether it be at Porapunka, whether it be the back of house staff. We're frustrated that we've got 77,000 arrests in that 12-month period. We don't step away from it. Some of these people, as you know, and as I've shared already, are repeat offenders. So there is that relationship that's been forged between some of our crime teams and those particular young individuals. Frustrating to see that we have young people driving at incredibly dangerous speeds, young people, inexperienced drivers, putting themselves and community members at risk, our police members at risk, trying to apprehend them, and then to see them potentially charged and bailed, charged, sentenced, and then back on the street and continue to offend. It is incredibly frustrating, but we won't step away from it. We have a role to keep the community safe, and we'll continue to arrest those people and play our role and put them before the courts. But we will also work with partner agencies. Now, what are the therapeutic treatments these young people need? What's driving their criminal behaviour? Is it family violence? Is it mental health? Is it drug addiction? Is it alcohol addiction? What can we do with other agencies to treat the underlying causes so we prevent these people from committing crime? And that's what the Chief Commissioner has been sharing with our senior executive. It's great that we're arresting 77,000 people each year, but that's victims of crime. How can we actually get in front of that? How can we stop that crime from occurring whilst it's being contemplated by these offenders?
Can the community be reassured then that this is the last time that we'll see record numbers when the crime stats come out?
I can't give that undertaking. I anticipate and am very confident in the fullness of time that these crime numbers will come down, because we have a fresh approach. We have a new approach. We have an approach now that is complemented by us holding people to account. But what can we do more to prevent and deter crime happening in the first place? And that's the focus of this organisation going forward. It'll take us a while to put different systems and processes, deployment models in place, but that's the focus of our new Chief Commissioner, and we're doing a power work at the moment to pull systems and processes together, operating models together. As I said earlier, we have now a new structural arrangement that will be announced mid-October by the Chief Commissioner that sets the tone, because that will be clearly articulated in that document that we have a new approach to our policing model.
You mentioned there's frustration seeing people get bailed or charged or sentenced and then they go off and re-offend again. Have police been advocating to the government for sentencing reform as well as obviously on the bail end?
We have dialogue with government and other agencies, certainly the Department of Justice and Community Safety, around our legislative framework. That's ongoing. That's the way we do business. We have a number of proposals that we put to government. So do other agencies, so do other stakeholders. We're but one. Sometimes our wishes are adhered to, or our wishes are followed, but not all the time. We respect that. The government sets policy, the government sets legislation. We enforce the law, and the law is prescribed by the government of the day.
Are you able to tell us which policies were rejected by the government?
I'm not going to share that with the broader community. Those conversations, are in confidence. Those conversations continue. We are asked for advice, as is the case with many other stakeholders when government are considering legislative treatments. We have a position, but there's other positions that need to be respected as well. Ultimately, we respect the position of the government.
Is there an estimate or a ballpark figure for how much repeat offenders are costing the state in court when they come back 5 or 10 times?
I haven't got a monetary figure in terms of the costs associated with the criminal behaviour that the minority in this state are committing, a very small minority that are driving our crime data. But certainly the Victoria Police budget accommodates the policing response and deployment models. Having our police working in the middle of the night is, at this point in time, the new way of doing business. We're rostering to demand. And at this point in time, I'll continue to have significant numbers of police working to achieve the results that we achieved last night and the night before, arresting these people committing these horrific crimes, putting fear in the community, inflicting sometimes injury upon community members. We will continue to operate in that way. We'll complement that by a prevention focus going forward. Not that we haven't got that already. We've got crime teams and other specialists that work with vulnerable kids, vulnerable community members, those that we want to divert from the justice system, those that we don't want to come in the justice system. We're working with those people already, but the Chief Commissioner would like to see that enhanced.
Can I just ask, sorry,
Are you getting the support that you need, for, there's lots of talk about, I guess, the punitive measures that are coming through government, but are you getting the support you need for the preventative and therapeutic measures that you've been talking about?
Certainly, that's the dialogue that we're having with government at the moment. So from a systems perspective, how can we prevent crime from occurring? It's certainly a role that we're involved in, but what other agencies are, I'll say that again, what can they do? We already work with the Department of Health, DFFH, Department of Education, but how can we work in a more collegiate way to identify young people in particular that we think are going to take the path of criminality? What can we do to divert them, whether it be through education, training, or therapeutic treatments, to support them to be positive contributors to society going forward?
About those early intervention strategies, what are you planning to do about family violence?
Well, we do a lot of work in that family violence space. We have an area that's dedicated to raising awareness, the community messaging. We have family violence investigative teams working across the regions, promoting a safe environment, encouraging people, if they don't feel safe in the home environment, to report matters to Victoria Police. And we don't shy away from the fact that we have significant numbers of people reporting to us as opposed to other jurisdictions that don't feel safe in their homes. That's a positive, because people have the confidence in policing and the confidence that we'll do something about it, which we are, to the best of our ability.
Yet the rate continues to rise. I mean, we've been hearing this rhetoric for many years at this point, saying that part of the reason that it keeps going up is because people feel comfortable to report. But I mean, at what point does that stop becoming, a justification for the rate rise, and it's actually just there's a more systematic problem or a bigger problem with the way it's actually been handled by police?
Well, I think that's a little bit unfair, suggesting that Victoria Police are not managing or handling it in a particular way.
Year after year after year,
Yeah.
for as long as my career has, I've worked in media, that the reason for the increase is because people are reporting. But if it keeps going up, I mean, that's not really a justification, is it?
Well, it's a challenge. It's certainly a challenge, not only in this jurisdiction, but across Australia. Family violence is a concern for police members, community members, other sectors, and how we actually treat it. There's no silver bullet here. We need to continue to raise awareness. We need to have conversations with, amongst other things, young people in schools. Different programs, understanding and appreciating what community harmony looks like. What's harmony in the home environment look like? Respect for women. There's a multitude of those type of programs, being rolled out across this state and other jurisdictions. We need to do that more. Is there, more that we can do with the younger generations that will be married people, partners, fathers, mothers into the future?
Can I ask about retail theft? Obviously that is increasing as well. Can you talk us through what sort of offending? Is it organised? Is it opportunistic? What's driving that increase?
I'm troubled, like many community members, that we're seeing violence within the retail sector, where shop attendants are being assaulted on a far too regular basis, violent offending when people are going about their business. In terms of the data, we know that 50% of offenders that are involved in retail theft are first-time offenders. Now that indicates to me the cost of living pressures are playing out. 30% of all those responsible for retail crime also have drug association. So, the illicit drug driver is also influencing that. Organised crime features also in the retail crime space. We, as an organisation, have a senior officer at commander level engaging with the sector on a regular basis, working with the sector in terms of how we can collaborate to reduce the risk to their staff and reduce the level of crime. We run operations. We have a visual police presence in most large shopping centres across the state. We have a number of operations. The hallmark operation in more recent times is known as Operation Stand here in the CBD. It was initiated 12, 18 months ago. We have a network of shopkeepers, retail sector representatives on a working group. There's a sharing of intelligence and data. As a consequence of that collaboration, we're identifying offenders, repeat offenders that are coming in from the suburbs and committing retail theft. They're being arrested at a significant rate. We also run operations when we identify with the sector organised crime. There was, in more recent times, 2 significant criminal networks dismantled. A particular criminal organised group responsible for millions of dollars worth of stolen liquor. We also have, in more recent times, an operation where power tools were being stolen. Another criminal enterprise that we dismantled, charged with the relevant offences. We'll continue to police that environment and work with the sector. I know that there is concern from some quarters. Chief Commissioner Bush is meeting senior representatives from that sector. He has met them in recent times, talking to them about prevention and deterring crime.
On the media release, it says there's dedicated operations targeting retail theft, in particular hotspots. Do you know what those hotspots are off the top of your head?
Certainly the CBD. There's also the Shepparton area. We're running operations up there. There is, I think, operations running in Chapel Street. But again, I'll ask our media advisor to nominate those particular areas after the press conference.
And how are you feeling in your position of leadership that you're in at this time where we're seeing record? How do you feel that this is continuing the way that it is and we're seeing this sheer amount of victims?
Well, having been in the organisation for many years now, certainly the crime rates in this state have increased significantly since COVID, and there's some underlying causes there, especially that relates to young offending. There is certainly in this state, again, technology playing out, more so than it ever has before in terms of enabling crime. Our challenges around illicit drugs are not going away. The issues that we face around cost of living playing out. I understand that it's a challenging environment. We have a perfect storm, if you like, that I haven't seen before in my 40 plus years service in Victoria Police. But as I said, our members are doing an exceptional job. We're out there day and night to keep the community safe. Our members are doing an exceptional job under trying circumstances. And I know our members are looking forward to the work that Chief Commissioner Mike Bush will lead across the organisation to have us focus on prevention and deterrence going forward.
You spoke on the target to reduce crime by 5%. How is that going to be measured and reported, and what's going to happen if we don't actually reach that target?
Well, we'll certainly have that target. I can share that data during the crime stats briefings. Thinking on my feet here, I haven't spoken to Mike about that, but I would expect him to want to be very transparent about this, whether it relate to the 5% reduction of serious and violent crime, whether it be us achieving an 80% confidence rate, trust and confidence rate with our community, whether the leadership development, but certainly the crime aspect would feature in these reports going forward, I'd suggest.
Just in the release that was published today, it said that Victoria's crime rate can be reduced when there's strong accountability for offending. Is that a reference to the courts being too lenient on repeat offenders that your members have to keep rearresting?
That's a general comment. In terms of my experience and the experience of senior officers, we know that if there's a strong level of accountability and there's consequence for those that commit criminal offences, well, that will then promote the deterrence that we're looking for. That will prevent further crime from occurring in the future. I understand and appreciate the independence of the courts. I understand the role of government, policing play a role, but all the research indicates that if there's a strong accountability mechanism, a legislative framework that sees accountability, sees consequence, that'll lead to prevention and deterrence going forward.
Talking a little bit, I guess, around the stats a bit, I know with the Cobblebank incident, which obviously isn't covered in those stats, but the talk from police was that it was just, one of the more violent incidents they've seen. It was quite shocking to police. Are you able to talk to, these serious and violent offences that are rising in the crime stats about that severity of violence you might be seeing that doesn't, I guess, show up in the numbers? Is it worse than you've seen in your policing career? Is it better? How's it compared?
It's certainly something that wasn't evident in my early policing career. In my early policing career, there was a graduated approach in terms of offending. We would see young people involved in low-level offending, shop stealing, the use of drugs. Then there'd be an escalation involved in assaults, robberies, armed robberies. Then they would then unfortunately be involved in more serious crimes. But this escalation goes from 0 to 100 with some of these people. Some of the people that we're arresting for these violent offences, these serious assaults, the homicides, and some of these people have had no prior history. And some of these people have been influenced by, amongst other things, the gang mentality, social media. There's all these influences that certainly went around when I joined this organisation that now is enabling crime, is perpetuating crime than ever before.
We've got a situation where you're increasing numbers, it's popping up everywhere, of Dad's Army getting together to patrol their own neighbourhood. What does that say about how people are feeling regarding the crime stats?
People are frustrated, like we're frustrated. There is an unacceptable level of crime occurring in the state of Victoria. Our police members are doing a magnificent job, but we can't be everywhere. People are, again, employing security guards, employing services that patrol their area to safeguard their homes. They're feeling unsafe, and we need to turn that around. And how will it turn that around is that we'll Again, focus on prevention and deterrence. We'll continue to hold people to account. There will be consequence for criminal offending, whether it be through the new bail laws, whether it be through the legislation that relates to edge weapon crime, whether it relates to other legislative frameworks that are certainly been advanced through Parliament.
And that prevention piece, you said that will be in place or announced in mid-October. And then do you expect that to, happen right away, or will there be a bit of a lag?
No, it won't happen right away. But certainly the conversations I'm having with the assistant commissioners in the regions is that, the Chief Commissioner has set the tone. He set the tone with myself and others at the senior levels of the organisation that it's great that we're doing all this work to arrest these offenders. That's very important. But what can we do to get in front of that? How can we prevent these offences occurring in the first place? What are we doing with other agencies? What are we doing to put more police on our roads? What are we doing about our deployment models? How are we actually, as I say, preventing and deterring the crime in the first place? The organisational structure that will be announced mid-October will be the start of the journey effectively, or the journey's already started because we've already got a new strategy document and we've got those goals already set. And that's already influencing behaviour across the organisation in terms of how we deploy our people and think about prevention.
Is there any update on Porepunkah while we've got you here?
With respect to Porepunkah, that operation continues. We still have investigative, intelligence, tactical people deployed in that area. We still have community reassurance patrols. We still have large numbers of police. We still are conducting searches, making inquiries in that particular area.
Do you still have 450 officers on the ground every day, as was the figure at the start, or has that been scaled back at this point in the search?
The numbers fluctuate. At times they could go up to 450, they could come down. It depends on what activity we're undertaking at the particular stage of the investigation. But it's a priority, the number one priority for Victoria Police, that we arrest Desmond Freeman sooner rather than later.
What would be the average number of members just roughly on the ground still there?
Well, it fluctuates. Certainly in the hundreds, I can assure you of that we have deployed and dedicated solely to this investigation.
Could we just go back 2 questions ago about this announcement in mid-October about and around prevention? Can you explain more clearly what it really is? Because I think, can you understand why the public might be surprised to hear just because Mike Bush has come, we're finally doing this? Like, what's been going on in, say, the 5 years leading to now? Have those programs not been in place?
No, let me be very clear here. Victoria Police responds to crime. We apprehend those responsible for crime, but we're already doing prevention work.
So what's new in October?
We have dedicated crime reduction teams. We have dedicated liaison officers dealing with youth, vulnerable youth. We have dedicated teams dealing with vulnerable communities. We have people doing a series of different programs with our other agencies in an attempt to divert, amongst other things, young people and even adults away from the justice system. This is not new, it's being enhanced. The structural arrangements are the first step, and they're proposed structural arrangements. This is a significant change for Victoria Police. Organisational change that sees a resetting of your structure needs and requires consultation with our workforce. So Chief Commissioner Mike Bush will announce it in mid-October, but we've got to go through a process of consultation, and once that consultation concludes, and depending on the feedback, that will inform what the final model looks like, and that will then flow into other work that we're doing to have a stronger focus on deterring criminal behaviour.
And what does it actually mean structural? Is it the layout of roles for members that are different, or the way that there's reporting done, or who they liaise with? I'd be concerned if I was the Chief Commissioner watching this interview and I was about to share what he might announce in mid-October. So that's a matter for the Chief Commissioner, and we're still finalising that. We will make timely announcements of that, but the Chief Commissioner is very clear that he wants to engage his workforce primarily around this,
stakeholders. There will be no doubt media requests, and no doubt he'll accommodate that, but everything needs to be sequenced, and the community can be assured that we're doing work, continue to do work, to hold people to account. We continue to work with government to look about how we can improve the legislative framework, how we can work more collaboratively with different partners. But at the same time, we're going to look at how we can prevent crime and deter crime. How can that be a stronger feature in our police operating model going forward?
Is it your expectation that that will be bolstered with funding by the government for, like you said, alcohol and drug services, family violence services? Do you think that there's a role for the government in that too?
Again, that's a matter for the Chief Commissioner, and that question should be directed to him. He will work with government, and he will, and has already shared with government, what he's certainly proposing in the future. It started during his selection process, and he continues to have dialogue with the government about how he's shaping Victoria Police and the policing model going forward. Now, if it entails funding and if it entails working with others, that's a matter for the Chief Commissioner and myself and others to work through in the fullness of time. And we'll announce those things, obviously, when it's the right time.
There has been that, I guess, quite distinct change in direction in the force since Mike Bush has been on board. How's that being received by, I guess, rank and file? Is it a bit of a breath of fresh air? Is it with a bit of trepidation, this kind of seemingly, I guess, shift in a slightly different direction?
Well, I think there's certainly a positive feel across the organisation. We've got a Chief Commissioner that has been appointed, an experienced leader. He has led a police force, the New Zealand Police Force, for 5+ years. He's worked in the private sector. He has engaged the workforce from the outset. He's spending so much time talking to our people, understanding the business, appreciating their concerns, appreciating their challenges, working with the business to understand what he can do as the leader to make their role more effective to keep our community safe. That's been his priority, certainly his priority since his appointment in June, and that continues to be his priority. As only as recent as yesterday, he was visiting, particular units in this building, and he continues to go out. We very rarely see him in the office because he's out talking to our people, and that's his priority at the moment. Talking to government, talking to stakeholders. He wants to understand, how he can effectively work with the workforce, engage the workforce, bring the workforce along, and I think that's a positive for our members. Certainly, they see that there need to be change in the policing direction, and that's certainly that something that Chief Commissioner Bush is delivering at this stage.
Coming back to these offenders who kind of go from 0 to 100, as you said.
Yeah.
Is there a connection between extremist movements like the NSN, like people like Desmond Freeman who have sovereign citizen views? And if so, what are the police doing about it?
No, I haven't seen that connection. None of the intelligence is indicating to me that those young offenders are involved or connected to those particular groups, extremist. These are young people that, for one reason or other, disconnected from family, disconnected from their education, disconnected to community broadly, and they see a family within a youth gang, and they'll then be involved in criminal behaviour that gives them some comfort because they are connected to, unfortunately, people of ill repute.
But separate from youth crime?
No, this is the youth crime piece.
Okay. But you're not seeing increases in serious violence outside of youth crime?
Well, certainly we're seeing violence across the community on a far too regular basis, not only committed by young people but adults. We're seeing a more violent, I suppose, approach by community members that certainly wasn't as prevalent as years gone by. On our roads, there seems to be this aggression. There's certainly aggression now in our homes. There's certainly aggression that we're seeing played out in some sporting events, in some community settings. It's an interesting dilemma that community harmony, social cohesion. How can we actually improve that as leaders across the community?
So there's not really an understanding as to why that's happening or why there is that phenomenon.
Well, there's research in relation to that. There's research in terms of what and how someone can, how social cohesion can be delivered, how social cohesion can be enhanced, community connection can be enhanced. Certainly, since COVID, we've seen increasing crime rates, as I said earlier, driven by a multitude of factors. Victoria, Australia, we've got this insatiable desire for illicit drugs. We use more illicit drugs in this country than any other, per capita, than any other nation in the world. Methamphetamine and the violence that causes within society. We have certainly mental health challenges that have emerged certainly since COVID. Mental health challenges that is causing, and putting pressure on the health system. We didn't have those challenges before COVID, my understanding. We have certainly other challenges as a society that are playing out in this crime data. Family violence being the case in point.
When you say COVID, you don't mean the illness, do you? You mean the lockdown?
Well, essentially yes, because there's disconnection by community members, young people in particular. I haven't seen research, but what I have, read in our intelligence holdings, that there's been this shift in behaviour by young people since COVID, I'm sure in the fullness of time there'll be academic research that will validate that.
Can we just ask you some other things unrelated to the stats? The Royal Melbourne Show, often we see these youth gangs turning up at these just because of the sheer number of people that go there. Is there any extra resourcing going on down there?
We have a police presence in all major events, the Royal Melbourne Show being one of them. So we'll have certainly a police presence out there, and if our intelligence suggests that we're going to have any, youth gang activity out there, well, that'll dictate to us that we need more police out there.
And then the crime,
questions now, guys.
the crime, bit of the crime spree that was in the southeast that Abby was referencing earlier, where they said g'day to him. Do you know whether they were actually on bail?
I'm not too sure. There was two different incidents, and I'll talk to them very quickly, if I may. On Tuesday night, we had 3 or 4 offenders driving a stolen red Mazda, involved in 13 serious and violent crimes. We had identified who we believe was responsible, and we commenced a criminal investigation targeting that person. Last night, that particular group were involved in more offending and were able to arrest, after a pursuit, 2 people that were hospitalised after using stop sticks their vehicle rolled. We know the others that are involved. They will be arrested in that, they'll be arrested as it relates to that crime spree. The other incident was the vision that we released this morning. That was the southeast suburbs matter. Now that involved 7 offenders, 6 or 7 offenders, might have been 5, thereabouts. Now we arrested those people and we've charged 1. The others will be charged in the fullness of time. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.